Kia ora, good morning. So I've been up for a little while. I'm just having my coffee. I've got my toast here. Um, and I thought it would be a good idea to make this video because I was just reaching out to lend support to a man on Instagram who, you can see the conversation in the thumbnail. He's starting a Healing Your Wounded Inner Child course. And I was just offering him support. Um, you can see the conversation in the thumbnail, but I'll put the full one in the post. But I've also put a link to his Instagram in case you want to sign up to his course or see the full conversation. But I will put the full conversation in the YouTube post in that. But sitting here making my coffee and that, thinking about all the work that I've done, because I said to him, I've stopped hundreds of suicides, two mass murders, two murder suicides and a potential mass murder. The mass murder, you'll actually see the video of me talking to the person who came to me further down in my YouTube, because remember yesterday I said I was documenting after I came out of my dark night of the soul, when I had my ascension, I started documenting everything. Because people, as I was putting stuff out about my ascension, people were reaching out to me and saying, that happened to me, or I'm going through that now, or is that why I'm, X, Y, and Z? And this man reached out to me for help. And he said he was going through the same things and, blah, blah, blah. And I made this video in response to him reaching out to me because he'd made a kill list. He had a list of people that he wanted to end the lives of, but he couldn't understand where it was coming from because he was going through dissension psychosis. And when you're going through dissension psychosis, you want to kill people. You want to end people's lives because you're so angry and you're in such a dark space that you want to punish people that hurt you or annoyed you, or that you find a threat, or that evoke jealousy and envy and all that. And that's when they end up in prison and stuff. But if you're able to recognize what's happening, it helps you change your mindset and puts you on a different path. Now, people like Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, Elon Musk, all these people who are, well, for a lack of a better term, murdering people, killing people, Bill Gates, all of that, that's dissension psychosis. That's when they're so mentally unstable, they take their pain out on other people because it makes them feel better. That's a symptom of dissension psychosis. Luckily for me, when I was going through my dark night of the soul, when I was being demagnetized from all the people who were bringing me down, I was pulled up and out of it long before I ever had to go through that sort of stuff, because I think that if I had suffered from dissensions, I was starting to, in the fact that I'd gotten to the point where I was morbidly obese. I gave up on myself, but I never got to the point where I wanted to physically harm anyone because I was pulled up and out of it as soon as I started figuring out what was going on. And then I immediately knew that I had to put the clarion call out to people to bang the drum and say, hey, look, this is happening to, creative minds and that, and something needs to be done, because when all our creative minds are gone, we're left with the idiots, the psychopaths like Gates and Trump and Musk and that, who just take and steal and exert authority and control to make change, when it's the creative minds who are responsible for the natural evolution of sweeping change in humanity, because we're the architects, we're the designers, we're the writers, the artists, the musicians, the poets and that, who we're like the nebula. We help smooth evolution along, but we're raised in societies that do not understand us at all. So, in turn, we also become the glitch that nobody wants to help heal. Nobody wants to help figure out or understand why it's the high functioning creative mind that ends up living the most depressive or the most oppressed, or, because it's always the high functioning creative mind that ends up falling into like addictions and fetishes and depression and mental illness and that, because it's like psychologically they're in a round room with no door. They can't find the exit, and their life just keeps going round and round and round and round and round in cycles, and they don't understand why, and they can't find a way out, and they're not around people that know how to get them out of it. So I always knew from day one the reason why I was put through everything I was put through was because God knew that I was the sort of person with the sort of mind that needed to figure it out in order to understand it so that I could help other people. I've never been suicidal in my life. I've been accused of being suicidal twice, and it was both lies. The first time was because I was washing orange juice out of my hair, and I got accused of she's trying to drown herself in the kitchen, in the bathroom toilets at Intermediate in Levin, and I wasn't. It's because someone had poured orange juice on my hair. I was being bullied. It was someone who was supposed to be my friend, and she threw the orange juice at my head, and like my hair and my uniform was covered in orange juice. And then when I was washing it out of my hair in the sink at school, she started this whole thing of. So I was 9 or 10. Like it was brutal stuff. These were people that had once. I'd had them in my home. I'd been in their home. We'd had sleepovers, all that sort of thing. But I'd joined the singing class, and I'd started, doing singing and music and that, and everyone, all my friends, just like basically turned on me. And I got picked to be in the school play Rats and, all of that. And, all my friends just like turned on me. So, and then obviously the second time was my ex, but we all know why he did that, right? So, I've spent my whole life trying to raise people up. And I'm just having a sip of my coffee. Because I know what death does to people. I know how death affects people, both the living and the dead. And when my cousin took his own life when I was like 21, 22, I saw the damage it did to my family. My family have never been the same since. And I wanted to make this video because I'll put a link in the description box of the message that I put out to the guy who had the kill list. But I've been at this a long time, people. And as someone who studies human psychology and human behaviour and all of that, and as someone who is a death angel, my sister is a death angel, but she is for people who are terminally ill, especially if they have dementia. Whereas I prepare people for the afterlife. I prepare their souls for the afterlife, whereas she kind of crosses them over. Although I have sat with dying people because it's what Māori people do, but what I can tell you is that from all the work that I've done with people who have been wanting to take their own lives, it all boils down to one thing. They've had to live an entire life where they're not being heard, where they've been told to sit down and be quiet, stop being dramatic, stop being emotional, too morbid, too dark, too this, too that, and they're criticised for their emotions, for what they think and what they feel. Now, I lived with a man who every time something didn't go his way or he was losing control, he threatened to kill himself. He was like bomb waiting to go off. He was like a lit fuse. And living with someone who constantly threatens to kill themselves in order to get their own way was one of the reasons why I had such high cortisol spikes. Because having to live with someone where you're constantly walking on eggshells, so I'm just taking my jumper off, is a horrible feeling. And he would do it right in front of my children. And my biggest fear was that my boys would become like their father. Because he's descending. When I left him, he started descending into madness, basically, and started doing all sorts of horrendous things to his body and his social life, and just living this lie that became punishable to me. He punished me for me ending the marriage because he no longer had control over me as his wife, but he still kept that control over me because he used my good nature in order to manipulate me, thinking that it was just until I got justice for what Rocio and that had done, and then I could take the boys and leave. But one of the good things that came out of living with him is that I got to study him and his mental illness. And out of it, I developed the Ascension Sciences. And it was when I went through my descension process, my demagnetization process, that it really solidified everything I was starting to understand about the human mind in correlation to the creative empath and people who decide they don't want to live anymore. And I always believe, this man in the Instagram calls it passive suicidal people. But I always believe that the people who think about it but don't do it don't really want to do it. It's just that they're in a situation where they're, like I said, a round room with no exit. They don't really want to do it. They find reasons not to do it, which means they don't really want to do it because they're looking for a solution. They're looking for an answer as to why they're this way. And because there's no one out there giving them the answers, they're stuck in a perpetual loop of constant depression and, thinking about it but never doing it. Finding reasons why it's not the right time or they can't do it yet. Or like this man says in his Instagram, go to his Instagram. Hang on. Because he talks about, all the reasons why they don't do it. Well, I've got pets, or I don't want to put that pressure on my family after I've gone. And so these are people who don't really want to do it, but they've found no reason to live anymore, which is an oxymoron because they're finding reasons why they can't die. And that's when you know that you're living between worlds, you're juxtaposed. You want to die, but you're finding reasons why you can't die. You can't find reasons to live, but you find reasons not to die. That's oxymoronic. That's when you're living with one foot in each camp, life and death, light and dark. Which means you're on the brink of a breakthrough. You just have to find the glass ceiling in order to break through it. And people like me and this man are the glass ceiling, because he talks about healing your wounded inner child. And that's what you need to understand. You need to go back to your childhood. This is all going to stem from your childhood. I tried everything I could, taking the brunt of the abuse, taking the brunt of the accusations. I tried everything I could to protect my boys from their father's rage and anger and all of that. But for me as well, I chose a man who created a life of turmoil that I was used to living as a kid. My family life was like a bloody soap opera. Being such a from a large Indigenous family, there was all sorts of dramas going on. There was always fights. There was always people beating each other up, women included, men and women fighting, beating each other up, men beating each other up, women beating each other up, kids beating each other up, women beating children up, men beating children up. Like, I grew up with all of that. Raging alcoholism, like just people drinking constantly, poverty, all that sort of thing. And my mother grew up in violence, my father grew up in horrendous violence, and they passed that all on to us. And as soon as I started recognising that I was in an unhealthy situation and needed to get out, that's when Chris turned on me. That's when my husband turned on me, because I recognised that if I didn't get out of the situation I was in, I was going to be handing my children the same kind of life that I grew up in. And the last thing I wanted was for my children to grow up in a life like mine, where violence and abuse and neglect was normal. Now, you might have grown up in a perfectly, lovely family, but I'm telling you now, if you contemplate suicide, something triggered it from childhood, and you need to go back and look at it. And that's the problem that everyone faces, that nobody wants to look back on their life to see where they went wrong, or to see where everybody that they loved went wrong. The hardest thing I had to accept when all of this happened to me, over the last couple of years, was having to accept the fact and admit that my family, the people who were supposed to have my back through my darkest times, didn't actually love me. That's a really hard thing to have to accept. And you often find if I take a break, it's because I'm sipping my coffee. When you're feeling like that, it's because you're refusing to look at things that need to be looked at. After I lost my girl, I was talking to my sister about it. We had a really deep conversation about it, and I said to her, when we were talking, one of the hardest things you ever have to do is realise that the people who were supposed to love you didn't love you, but that you also have to admit that sometimes we love people who don't deserve our love because we're expected to love them. And that it's okay not to love or have respect for people who put you through such hell. But that if you just admit it and see it for what it is, it actually heals you. Because we were talking about our mum, and I said to her, I chose to forgive mum. I chose to forgive mum. I chose to focus on the good things that she taught me and brought into my life, rather than focus on the abuse. Because my mother was a hitter, and she was verbally nasty. She used to say and do things that I've been hit with, all sorts of things. Jug cords, shoes, wooden spoons, spatulas, all sorts. I've been dragged across the floor by my hair so many times, I can't even count. The only reason why she stopped is because I got too tall. She was only little tiny ickle, but I chose to bury that, put that in the past, and forgive her and focus on the good things that she brought into my life, whereas my sister was having a hard time forgiving mum. And I said it's I was saying to her, it's okay not to love someone or to not have respect for someone just because they're your parents, or just because they're your siblings or a spouse or whatever, your children. Just because they're there, it doesn't mean that you have to love them unconditionally when they don't love you back unconditionally. Because my mother used to say that respect is give and take. You give respect where you get it. And just because someone's blood doesn't give them the right to have that kind of control over your life where you're wanting to end it in order to not deal with the pain. So if you just look at it for what it is and deal with the pain, it helps you heal from it. Because then you're finally looking at what you don't want to see. And when people are wanting to take their own lives, it's because they're refusing to deal with something they don't want to look at because it's too painful. So they'd rather just end it rather than have to deal with it. But as someone who is a high priestess who prepares people for the afterlife, what I can tell you is death doesn't end the suffering, it actually amplifies it. Because not only then do you have to go into purgatory, you're not allowed to come back straight away like other people when they die. You're not allowed to be instantly reborn. You have to sit in like a liminal space between heaven and hell where you have to work on yourself and you have to watch all the pain and suffering that you've caused. You have to watch the damage of what you've done, and then you'll start being reborn into lives that are worse than the one you left, until you realise that your fate is not in your hands, it's in God's. God is the only one who decides when it's your time. And when you take your own life because I'm done, I'm out of here sort of thing, that means you haven't given your faith over to God or your ancestors or the universe, whoever it is you believe created you. I'm just talking in general because, most people believe in a deity. And I believe in my God is Atom, the creative consciousness. So it's supposed to be that your life is a test, and how you do the exam judges what happens next. And when you don't give your faith over to the universe, when you don't give your faith over to God, and you put your life in your own hands, you've failed the test, because we are all here to live a test of faith. The situation you're in, even if it's the worst possible situation where you're suffering greatly, your life is in the hands of God, and everything you go through has a greater purpose than you can see from a microcosmic level. You're only seeing it from like this, from your point of view, but you're not seeing it from the macrocosmic point of view, from the greater point of view, from the point of God. There are some people who live tragic lives, who die under tragic circumstances, but they're martyred for the greater cause of humanity. They're the selfless people who chose to have these lives with the greatest life lessons, knowing that they're going to have a larger impact on the rest of the world. But when you're just, not your average everyday person, but when you're going through hardships in life, and you're kind of basically like the sort of person that me and this man from Instagram are talking about, your average everyday normal person who isn't facing genocide in Palestine, who wasn't in Auschwitz, who isn't being bombed in Iran, like that sort of thing. Your normal average everyday person, when you're going through stuff where it just seems like things are getting worse and you can't find a solution to it, and it's better off to just like end it all and just end the suffering doesn't end. What you're being asked to do is have faith and look for hope and find that light. Find that little glimmer of hope. Find the light. When you're constantly surrounded in darkness, and you're being fed the darkness because of the media, because of social media, because of the aggressive or depressive people around you, you're being asked to just shut it off and step away. Get away from it. Don't be around people who constantly bring you down. Don't be around things that constantly cause you to depression. You have to understand, especially like if you're in America and the United Kingdom, things like X and the media were put there in order to bring you down. that they've been put in place in order to feed that depression. And people have started talking about it on X, how they're feeding algorithms to people that are encouraging them to take their own lives because that's what they want. That's how dark and twisted he is. Because they're trying to decrease the population, so they do it in subversive ways. So what I say to people is change the algorithm. Stop clicking on and liking the same things that feed the algorithm, because when you feed that algorithm, his little grok goes, oh, so he's depressed. So I'm going to feed him stuff that keeps bringing his mood down, and then, with any luck, he'll take his own life. That's exactly what they want. That's exactly what Grok and the AI algorithms and that were designed for, to get into your head. So change the algorithm. Like pictures of animals, cakes, all that sort of thing. That's what I do when they keep trying to feed me stuff that contradicts my predictions, or my prophecies, or whatever it is I'm talking about. They keep trying to slip it in, and I just change it instantly, because they're trying to control and manipulate the mindset of the masses to bend their will to their way of thinking, and it's working. Because people aren't realising what's going on. But when you see the truth for what it is, it helps you break through the glass ceiling. It helps you step out of the matrix and see the reality for what it is. And the reality of what it is that they don't have the control that you think they do, and that life is so much better than you realise if you just stop focusing on the shadows. There's light there. All it takes is one little light to light up a whole room of darkness. One little match can illuminate a room full of blackness, full of darkness, full of nothingness. It can light up the void, but you have to actively search for the light. And that could be in just getting away, going for a walk, being in amongst nature, listening to the birds. It could be just cooking yourself a nice meal, or just sitting in quiet having a kebab. Whatever it is that just makes you feel like, being around your pets, like just turn your phone off. Don't engage with anyone that brings trouble to your door. It's okay to isolate yourself from your friends and family if you know they're the reason why you don't want to have to deal with life anymore. If you're around people that are making you feel like, I don't want to deal with this anymore, I'd rather die, that's the biggest red flag, that you're around the wrong people. And I'm a baby of 7. I've got dozens of nieces and nephews and hundreds of cousins in there, and out of all of them, I speak to one sister. I've completely shut myself off from all my family, because they were not who I thought they were. These were people that were not good for my mental health. And when my ex did what he did, I saw who they really were and what they truly thought about me. There was one sister and her 2 boys and Nephi and his wife. But out of my siblings, there was one sister. Out of my nieces and nephews, 3 nephews. Out of dozens. And that's usually what people don't want to look at. My family actually never really loved me. That's a hard thing to admit. They can sit there and pretend like, I gave you all the support in the world, or we used to be close when we were younger and that sort of thing. But when you're at your lowest, that's when you see who really cares about you and who doesn't. And it's a hard thing to admit that out of the hundreds of people in my family and the hundreds of people that were in my life, the only people that had my back was one sister and 3 nephews. And I've got a lot of nieces and nephews. I was the black sheep of the family after Chris did what he did that nobody wanted to talk about. Oh, God. Sorry, I'm just. My shoulder where I got stabbed, the pain goes right through to my bone, right through to my scapula. He's, the scars at the back, where he stabbed me at the back, but the pain goes right through to the front. Oh, and it's really playing up at the moment. I really need a bath. If I could just soak in hot water. Oh. Now, these people would have preferred if I died. They would have been happy if I died, I think, because then they wouldn't have to deal with me or admit that I was a member of their family because, oh, she went crazy with a knife and barricaded and threatened you boys' lives and that, which was all bullshit. They didn't even try to investigate it. They didn't look at the videos I made that night to see that none of it was true. Nobody asked to see the vest from the cop, to see that my boys were asleep. There was no evidence of any barricades. There wasn't even a knife. I was perfectly calm. I was doing housework when they turned up. Folding, washing. I'd just done the housework. And I knew instantly what he'd done. So I just told myself to stay calm and stand in my truth. My boys backed up everything I said. And not one person in my family asked to see the vest from the cops, to see the state I was in. Because he tried to say like I was what did he say? In a distressed state. And none of it was true. Nobody looked at the tapes. Nobody asked to see the tapes. Nobody asked to see anything. They just took his word for it and the word of the cops who wrote up a false statement. And then I was forced to endure nearly 4 years of having to do my own investigation to clear my name. And now it's come out, someone's come forward and talked about Elon Musk raping her in a hotel in France when she was a kid, and how he forced her to watch child porn and all that sort of thing. So everything I said about Elon Musk was true, and all the people that did that to me and helped him covered up for a rapist and a pedophile. So while everybody was running around saying I was crazy and that I was, threatening to kill my life and that, zero evidence, but I had 2 witnesses who said they confirmed everything I said. They were defending me. My sons were defending me until they got told to sit down and shut up. We'll buy you this if you get her to change your story. We'll do this. I'll do this for you if you tell her to drop the investigation. Now, if anyone was going to give up on life, it should have been me. Because not only did I have everyone that I loved and everyone I care for turn on me and believe lies in order to protect pedophiles and traffickers and sexual predators, I also had to come up against the governments as well, and the military and Secret Service and all of that, who hacking my phone and messing with my shit, messing with my bank account. I've had to deal with all of that. The average person would have given up and just ended it. But that's what they want you to do, because when you're no longer useful to the people who can't drain you or take from you, you're disposable to them. And that's the thing that is really hard to have to admit to. To the people who were supposed to love me and have my back the most, I was disposable. Had I have died, I would have been buried in a pauper's grave. There would have been no one at my funeral after everything I've done for these people. I've loaned members of my family money. I've given them a roof over their head when they had nowhere to go. I can't even count free babysitting for their kids. I was the one everyone went to when they needed sanctuary, when they needed financial help, when they needed support, when they needed babysitters, when they needed house sitters, when they needed pet sitters. It was me they went to. And yet when my ex-husband did what he did, they all scattered. They used it as the opportunity to show me how they really felt about me. And for the average person, that would have been enough to tip them over the edge. But I refused to let any of them win, because I knew my faith, because of what happened that night when God said to me, block him, lock the doors, and do everything I'm telling you to do. And when you come out the other side, I promise you won't be disappointed. Just document everything you're going through, which is what I did since the day he did what he did. I knew I was being put through it for a reason, so to pay attention. So from the second he did what he did, right up until I got released, right up until how I had to heal my body from the starvation and torture and that, I paid attention and I documented everything. And now as a result, I have the answers to the state of mind of every creative, empathic person living near hell. I know I have the answers for them. So they're no longer in the round room trying to find the exit, because I've carved the door for them. And now they just have to find the door and walk through it. So when I get out of here and I make my shows, and I get out of here and I do my radio shows, you're going to be able to come to me and call me on my radio show and say, you know, I'm going through this, blah, 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 and I'm going to be able to hand you the answers. I will be able to help you go backwards in time to look at the exact moment when everything broke in you, to then help you build yourself back up and choose life. Even if it means you have to walk away from everyone and it's just you, you will eventually find the right flock. You will eventually find the right people that are meant for you. But that if you have to spend whatever amount of time by yourself, it's because that isolation time was needed for you to heal. And if it takes a couple of years, it takes a couple of years, but it just goes to show, see, for me it's been 4. Be 4 years next month. But that's how long it's taken me to heal from 53 years of damage. Well, 49 years of damage caused by the people who were supposed to love me the most. For you, it might be 2 years. For you, it might be 10 years. I don't know. I don't know your story. But you will eventually find your flock. But in order to find your flock, you have to match their frequency. And if these are people who are already healed, you're being asked to heal yourself so that when you join them, you're not taking your baggage over to them. That's what I say, the reason why I've been single for so long. Because I've had to work on myself to heal myself from the damage that my ex-relationships have caused me. And, you know, what I witnessed from the damaged relationships that I grew up witnessing, I've had to heal from all of that and dump all that baggage so that the person I end up marrying isn't having to carry the load that everybody else dumped on me prior to being with them. It's not his responsibility to heal me from the damage that people from my past caused. It's up to me to heal it so that when I come to him, we get to start everything brand new. And then it'll be a marriage that lasts till death do us part. But it means that none of our fights or arguments will be because I have unhealed trauma or he has unhealed trauma, because it works both ways. He has to heal himself and, dump his baggage too, because I'm not taking on I'm not dealing with that shit anymore. The men that came near me were men that saw me as, she makes me feel good, she helps me, but I need to contain her. I need to cover her in my hands so that her light is only for me and nobody else. And I've got to save a lot, like I'm here to save children. I'm a light. I'm the light in the darkness. It's just that I was in relationships where the darkness were the men covering me with both their hands. You know, when you hold a bird and you stop it from flying away, you put one hand over the other. That's the relationships I was in. Men that hid me in public, who didn't want to be seen with, like with Chris. We were married for 2.5 years before I was allowed to tell anyone we were even married. Do you know how humiliating that is? But I did it. It hurt me every time I had to take my wedding ring off around his family. So it's like, don't be around people that hide your light. You shouldn't. High functioning, creative, empathic people were born to shine, and yet we're around people who want to hide our light. So if you have to step away from those people in order to let your light shine, then it's absolutely necessary. Be around people who make your light shine brighter. And then you'll see the purpose for the reason why you were here in the first place, because we're all here to learn a lesson. And it's, I say the meaning of life is to find the meaning in life. So when you find the meaning for you being here, when you find the purpose of why you're here, then you will choose life every time. The thought of giving up will be the last thing you think about, because when you find the reason why you're here, your sole purpose for being here, it's that eternal flame that keeps burning and getting you up every day. And then you choose life because you embrace life. And that's all it takes for you to not want to end it. And so, like I said, when I get out of here and I get my radio show and you can call in and all of that, I'm going to help you find your reasons for living. Because there's so much more good in this world than you're seeing, because you're surrounded by so much darkness. But it's on purpose, because that's the test. What are you prepared to do in order to have the life that you want, free from pain, living in peace, around the right people that appreciate you and respect you? And what are you prepared to do? Are you prepared to move? Are you prepared to cut off contact with people? Are you prepared to change the algorithms on your ex? Are you prepared to focus on your gifts and your talents in your quiet time? Are you prepared to put in the work? Because if you are, I'm telling you, it's going to change your whole perspective on life. You'll find the purpose, you'll find the reason, and the answer lies in childhood. And this is what I keep saying, because I've been studying this for so many bloody years. I had an article up I've put it up a few times. We as children show ourselves as adults the things that brings us the most joy, our purpose, our reason for being here. The things that you loved doing and got into as a kid is what you're supposed to be doing as adults. Because children are basically like, pure and innocent, the younger you are, the closer you are to God. And so whatever it is that we are into as kids, whatever it is that we like doing as kids, we're showing us when we're little what we're supposed to be as adults, what we're supposed to be doing as adults. And for me, I was doing talkback radio with my sister when I was little. We used to record ourselves being radio announcers, doing talkback and all that, and writing scripts and stuff for these little plays and that. Like we used to role play, like imaginary play, and we'd be dentists. We'd turn mum's kitchen into a dentist's. We'd turn mum's kitchen into a grocery store, and we'd role play being customers and all that sort of thing. And when I realised that I'd been showing myself as a kid what I was supposed to be doing as an adult, I was also doing like paranormal investigations and saving animals, being Debbie Doolittle and all that. The answers were there in my childhood that whole time. And now look what I've built from it, because when I paid attention to what I was doing as a kid, writing books, I was writing children's stories and that. I was showing myself as a kid all the things that were going to make me happiest as an adult if I stopped living up to everybody else's expectations and lived for myself. And when I chose to live for myself and I stepped away from Chris and Martin and my students and my family, when I just backed away from it all and just focused on healing me and dealing with me, that's when everything opened up. And I started, I started writing more books and video games, storylines and movies, and because you've seen it all. But your answer will always lie in childhood. Why you're suffering, your reason for being here, and what you can do to fix it. And I'll show you. I'll show you the way. I will lead the way. Because I went there first and I figured it all out so that you don't have to. You just have, you just have to trust me. Have faith in me. If you have faith in nobody else. If you don't have faith in a God, have faith in me. Because if I can survive everything I went to without even giving it so much as nary a thought of giving up on my life, then there's hope for you. And that's all you need, hope and faith. So when I get my radio show, I'll dedicate like a whole show every week to people wanting to give up or being fed up, or and then when I go out, and take my show on the road sort of thing, when I'm making my mysteries inside histories and that, there's stuff that's going to happen there as well. I'm going to show you the reason why living is so important and why life is something that we should never take for granted and need to embrace. Because you can be as suicidal as all you want. God might drop a piano on your head, or you might get hit by a bus. So the meaning of life is to find the meaning in life. Why are you here? What can you do to enjoy it? Not any regard for anyone else but you. Why are you here? What can you do? What makes you happy? Because we're all here in our lives as us for the experience of being us. And we can change our lives at any moment just by changing the way we think. By changing your perspective, it changes your mind. Changing your perspective and seeing something from a different angle helps change your mindset. So if the stuff that I'm saying makes you go, oh, well, that makes sense, or, oh, well, it's going to be hard, but she's right, and then you do it, and then you find your life is getting quieter, and you're sleeping better, food tastes better, because your cortisol levels are going down. Like you're savouring life more, you're enjoying your own company more, because you're no longer submerged in the darkness and that, because you're no longer around the people or the patterns that were designed to bring you down. I'm telling you, it's like every day you wake up, you rise higher and higher and higher and higher, to the point where you end up so far removed from where you came from that the thought of giving up on your life is the last thing you think about. Because all you want to do is keep writing that book, or keep coming up with ideas, or, you know, keep fighting for justice until you get the money so you can get out and build your foundation, make the movies, record your albums, or whatever your medium is, whatever your happiness is. But sometimes you have to remove yourself from the noise in order to hear your own voice, and that requires isolation. Being by yourself is not a bad thing. I promise you it's not. Or only being around the one or two people that don't treat you like crap or make you feel like crap every time you're around them. Because they're not here to help you, they're here to hurt you. And they're the test, they're one of the tests. What are you prepared to do? Are you prepared to walk away from them? Are you prepared to stand up for yourself and put them in their place? What are you prepared to do in order to bring peace to your life? Because then what happens is, if you do just give up, when you get to the other side, you'll be told by your ancestors in the council that, well, you had options. You could have chosen to do this, but you didn't. So now you have to sit in between worlds and think about what you've done. It's like being put on the naughty step. And that's not what atoms are here for. We, as, you know, an atomic consciousness, we're here for the purpose of learning and absorbing and growing and expanding. And when you as an atom are put in between life and death, expansion and extinction, when you're put between the two, that's kind of conscious hell. It's like putting a greyhound in the box before a race and counting down the me before the gate opens for them to chase the rabbit, but never opening the door. And the greyhound's rearing to go, like, yeah, come on, I want to do, like, let's do this, let's get this race started. But the gate never opens. That's incredibly frustrating for a greyhound who just wants to get that bloody rabbit. That's purgatory, being stuck between worlds, not allowed to start again, not allowed to grow and expand, not being made to suffer and be punished, being stuck in between the two until it's decided that you've sat in the naughty step long enough for you to be given and to be reincarnated, to be given a new life. But that new life will be worse than the one you left until you learn the lessons that your life is not in your hands, it's in God's hands. It's in the hands of fate. We can control our fate, but we can't control our destiny. And when you put fate in your own hands, that's when you have no faith. And the whole point of us being here is a test of faith. So when you're facing hardships, ask yourself, who do you have faith in to help you get you out of it? When you're facing your darkest moments, when you're having those dark thoughts, ask yourself, who or what do I have faith in to help me get me out of this? Is it God? Is it music? Is it writing? Is it painting? Is it photography? Is it your pets? Is it that one friend? I always run to my sister. I have a cry with my sister when I'm, finding it hard with Amber's death and, love life bollocks and all that sort of thing. I run to my sister. Because even if she yells at me, or doesn't give me the advice that I want to hear, it's always done with love. My big sister always gives me the cuddle that I need. So, I'm just scratching my back. Um, and if you don't have anyone, you've got me. And if you have faith in me, I'll help you get out of it every time. So, yeah, I can't wait to get my radio station up and running because there's so much good I can do with it. And then, of course, my shows and everything. When I show you what death actually is, when I can show you physically, if you haven't watched any of my stuff where I've gone to National Trust places and that, um, it's going to help you understand and see things from a bigger picture. And then you'll get it, and then you'll choose life, and you'll start enjoying life because you'll be savouring the flavours of the beautiful tapestry that's been created since the second you were conceived, that's been waiting and sitting for you to discover it and enjoy it while you're here, right? So I'm going to go and have my breakfast now, but I want to put that out there. The link to the man's Instagram is in the description box, and if like go to him, sign up to his online classes and that until I get my radio station set up and all of that. Like go to him. So I'll put the post so that you can properly read the conversation, the message that I left him, um, in the post of my YouTube, and I'll also find the video of the message I put out to the man who had the kill list. Um, I don't like looking at those videos because I see what I look like and I don't like anything like that now. It just goes to show how much I've changed with, my weight loss and, ugh, anyway. So it's just a constant reminder of the hell I was living because of who I was living with. But again, I have to take responsibility. I was the one shoving the food in my face. I was eating my feelings because I was with a man who was constantly telling me that everything I am or was wrong, screaming at me, throwing things, packing tantrums, and I was absorbing it all. And then I had to decide to stop the cycle from my childhood and from my marriage. And when I ended it all and chose me and chose to work on me and, save my boys from it, that's when he turned psychotic. That's when his mental illness started to really show itself. But I had nowhere to go. And I just kept thinking, just hang in there a little bit longer. And then when you can get this lawsuit with Rocio and the Air Force and Army and all that underway, you can get the money and get out. Not realising that he was helping people like Elon Musk cover up their sex crimes and their pedophilia and the stuff about Elon Musk. I'll put that in the description box as well. But I was right. I was right about everything I said about him. I was right about all of it. Who they're working for, Night World, and that Tia Darling paper dolls, who dressed as a kid, as a little girl, to have that fantasy fetish relationship with him. His victim's called or Sarah or Sarah. Sarah, and she's just come out and said about the child pornography and how he raped her in a prison and apparently in a hotel in France, and it's all on tape. So his whole reason for coming after me was to shut me up because I was speaking out about it. Me being shadow banned, him threatening my ex, hacking my phone, shutting my phone off, all of that was because I was speaking out about it. And my husband and ex-husband and my family and my friends and my students and that, whether they knew it or not, protected him, helped him do it. And if Rocio is Tia Darling / Paper Doll Productions, then she has a BDSM fantasy relationship with Elon Musk, as well as had a relationship, a sexual relationship with my best friend and two of my husbands. So I was right about everything. If I can live in the world that I've lived in, having to deal with the occult, with trafficking rings, international government based grooming gangs and occult sacrifices and Epstein and all that, and I'm still here and I'm still telling people don't give up, get up every day and push forward and get your justice and live for yourself and live your best life. If I can do all of that, then anything you're going through will have, there'll be a light at the end of your tunnel too. Because the thing that gets me up every day and pushing forward, the thing that got me breaking through the glass ceiling was my faith that nothing lasts forever, that God has my back, everything happens for a reason, and to find the purpose. And also because I'm determined to get justice. I'm not going to let everyone who did this to me and my sons get away with what they did to me and my sons. I'm still fighting for justice for me and my boys. Because just like my sister, they were pawns in their game as well. They were victims too. So even when I get justice and I get out of here, even if they don't want to come with me to wherever I'm going, I'll still be giving them money from the lawsuit. Because I promised them they'd get a cut. And I'm going to take care of my sister. I'm going to go and get her and give her the life she deserves. Because without her, like, she's been my absolute anchor. So I'm going to give her the life she deserves. And then I can do this on my own. I don't need a man. But it would be nice to have one. I'm ready. I really am ready. I can move forward now without having to look back on everything. Once I get my teeth done. Because like I said, my teeth are the only reminder now of the torture I was put through. I want to be able to smile my best smile for the man that I love without being embarrassed of my teeth. Even though the men that have come near my life don't give a crap about my teeth, it's personal. It's for me. It's for my dignity. So I'm going to go and have my breakfast, but please hold your head up high and know that you are loved. There are people out there like that man and like myself who care about you enough that we're prepared to put ourselves out there to show you what you can do to find reasons every day that life is worth living, and that if you choose life, you're choosing you. And that's the test. What are you prepared to do to live your best life for you? Take the leap of faith and follow the light. That's it. And if I'm your light, then sparkle. Sparkle. That's me pretending to sparkle. So I'm going to go. Hold your head up high every day and know that you are loved. You are loved. I love you. I care enough that I make these videos knowing that I've got eyes on me that want to shut me down and shut me up and all of that, but I love you enough. You're important enough to me that I do it anyway. And when I get out of here, and one day, that's what I'm saying, in a relationship, I need to be with a man who can be the sort of person that the boys can go to, that the boys can go to if they can't come to me. or girls. I mean, but he can be someone that the kids go to or the staff go to if I'm not around, or they don't can't feel that they can talk to me, that they can go to him. And that's someone who can't have baggage as well, which is what I was saying, is that you need to find the flock of people who don't bring baggage to the table every time you interact. Because then you get to start with a clean slate and build new lives together from scratch. And that's the flock you need to find. So come and join my flock. I don't have any baggage. I know I keep going on about the same stuff, but it's because I'm trying to get justice. Once I get justice, I get to walk away and leave the past behind me and only take the lessons from it. So, yeah, but it's not because I'm like holding a grudge or I'm bitter or twisted or anything like that. It's because I'm forcing justice. Because my story never changes, but theirs change constantly. So, yeah, have a beautiful day. Enjoy your Saturday. Go for a walk. Put some music on. Have some good food. Cook yourself some pancakes. Have a steak for breakfast. Bloody hell, just pamper yourself, look after you, do for you what nobody else will do for you, and enjoy it. Be your own best friend. And then when I get my radio show and that, you've got me. But my email's in the description box, so you know where I am if you need me, if you need to talk. And then we'll take it from there. Okay? Hold your head up high. Know you're loved. Have a beautiful day. Mwah.